What's going on, everybody? I'm Jerry, and this is my Week 6 recap. I'm going to try to go through this one a little bit quicker this time, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more pleasing to watch. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's just get right into it if we're going to be quicker. Starting off, first game of the week, we had Broncos Chiefs. So you can see the notes we put on there. I put Russ still stinks. Defense did play better, held the Chiefs, who are supposed to have a good offense, to 19 points. It was a lot closer than anticipated. The Broncos were very much so in this game. At one point, I believe it was 8-16. You get a one-score game there. So for how good the Chiefs are supposed to be and how bad the Broncos have been, really wasn't that bad. I put Mahomes to Kelsey show. Mahomes was really just firing him the ball. I believe he had half of the targets. It was right around half the targets. 10 receptions, 100 plus yards. So crazy game for him. I put they need a wide receiver one just because they still consistently have problems. They don't have a set wide receiver one. Justin Watson comes in and makes plays. Rashee Rice has actually looked all right. I don't think he's a one, but at least a little bit more reliable receiver that's going to be able to catch the ball. I say that he's had some drops, but he's a rookie drafted, I think, in the third round. So the fact that he's making any plays at all is good to see, but I still think they should trade for a wide receiver one, especially if they want to make a playoff run. And then a very defensive game. Obviously, when you hold the team to 8 points, that's what you're going to do. Not that the Broncos have been a great team, but 8-19 naturally is just a very defensive game. So Chiefs end up taking it. I get this one correct, which is very uncommon, as you'll see moving through. Let's move into the Vikings and the Bears. So the Vikings win the game. They won the turnover battle and won the game. There was some controversial calls. We have the fumble recovery that the Bears got where they ruled him to be out of bounds. I saw a lot of clear pictures of him inbounds when he recovers it. They argued he didn't have control. I didn't really like that. Could sound biased as a Bears fan, but I just don't believe that was a great call. Kind of a game-changing play as well. I put so much Hawkinson, so much Hawk is actually what I typed clearly, as you can probably read. But yeah, Hawkinson was just getting targeted all day long. You could definitely tell that Kirk Cousins was missing Justin Jefferson. And the blitzing, I put paid off. 72% blitz percentage from Brian Flores in the Vikings defense, which if you watched the game, you saw that like most of the time they had like 7 or 8 lined up on the line, and they would kind of make it like, oh, maybe they're gonna rush all 7 or 8. Sometimes they would drop back 4 and only rush 4, and it made it very difficult. The Bears seemed like they had no idea what was going on when that was happening, and they had no plan for it whatsoever. In the second half, started running a little bit more protection, but then you have Bagent come in the game, so it didn't really work out very well. Bagent comes in and there's the fumble 6 right off the bat. So that wasn't great to see from Bagent. But the play calling to me from the Bears looked like week 1 through 3. A lot of screen passes, not a lot of downfield stuff. To me, it was very clear that with all the blitzing that was happening, that there needed to be some short passes thrown in there. And there were some short passes called where Fields just couldn't let the ball go. But then Fields goes down, Bagent comes in, and aside from the fumble 6, which is huge, and the interception at the end, which obviously both very bad plays, he did look a lot better. He was throwing the ball with anticipation. He was getting the ball out faster, which is what you need to do when you're getting all that pressure. So aside from Division II undrafted free agent rookie making a fumble, getting hit from behind on a blitz, and then the interception at the end, you can't make that throw, but to be put in the position he was put in his first game of his career with where he's coming from, a very tough situation. And again, I thought Bagent looked better in that game particularly than Fields. You could argue that's a hot take because of the fumble 6 and the interception, but Bears end up losing, Vikings get the dub, and I was wrong against the spread one of many times this week. Next, we have Ravens-Titans. I told them I didn't tell them. You know what? I am telling them. Now in this video, I'm telling them you need to sign a running back 1 because they don't have one. They need to either sign somebody or they need to, I don't know if they need to just trade or do something because they're not going to be able to make a playoff run without it. They end up getting the win. I just put that their plan for getting the win won't always work because they're I mean, it was a very sloppy game. And then the Titans came out a couple cool plays. They had the handoff. I think it was a handoff to Henry, fake pitch on like a reverse, and he just kept it. Took it for most of the field. I put more Henry, 12 carries for 97 yards. I just thought he should have seen the ball more. They were down for, I guess maybe that would be why you would throw, but they weren't really targeting DeAndre Hopkins either. So I don't really know what was going on there. Tannehill, unfortunately, is going to be out, or fortunately, obviously, it's unfortunate that he's injured, but might be fortunate that we get to see another quarterback. So we'll see how that works out, but I put backup might be the best. If you're looking towards the future, could be the best for the situation just to see what you have. Doesn't look like this is going to be a winning season anyway. And I put the defense just struggled, where the defense was normally the one of the bright spots of the Titans. They weren't able to play well against the run, especially having somebody like Lamar Jackson you're going up against, and then as well as, just their defense in general weren't able to stop, pass, run, anything. So the Ravens were able to make mistakes and still win the game. Ravens get the dub, and I think this is like one of the last ones I get right, honestly. It was not a good week for picks for me. Commanders win 24-16. I knew the Commanders were going to put up points. I just thought the Falcons might be able to put up more points. The Bears were able to run all over the Commanders, and that seemed to be their one strong suit. So I thought maybe that would play into this week with the strong running backs that the Falcons have. That was not the case. Their run game was shut down, which I put in the notes there for the Falcons. But I put Howell plays with heart, because that dude, he's just out there slinging it. He wants it. It kind of reminds me of like, even now, but I was going to say young Matt Stafford. Stafford was always, he just plays with heart. He wants to win, and it's fun to see. So I'm definitely a bit of a Sam Howell fan at this point. I don't think he's great. I think he's got a long way to go, but I like how he plays the game of football. Defense won the game for him, especially with shutting down that run game. Ritter threw 3 interceptions, I think. Not a great game there. And then I still think that the Commanders are much worse than their record. They're definitely the worst 3-3 team. They might even be the worst 2-4 team. If you look at the records at all the teams that are 2-4, I mean, I guess the Giants are probably worse, but the Commanders they had some easy games where they won. I wouldn't say this was an easy game. I think their game plan won them the game, and Ritter making all those mistakes, all the turnovers. It's not going to be a good way to win a game. Their run game was shut down, and that's normally what they need to do well. Drake London, on the other hand, bunch of receptions, bunch of yards. There was like I called it the simul catch, where both the receiver and, I don't know, it was London and I don't remember the DB, but they both kind of had it. London ended up with it, got a great play. So that's good to see, especially good to see Ritter is as bad as, he threw the game with all the interceptions. It's good to at least see him throw the ball down the field. Getting a 300-yard game was very big for him. So I think a small positive there, but they still need the run game to have success. And the Commanders end up taking the dub. I was wrong again. Next game, we have the Seahawks-Bengals. Seahawks sold that game. Geno sold. I put it right in there. Couple different red zone times they made it to the red zone and just couldn't make it. Couldn't find the end zone. It was a winnable game. I mean, they very easily, multiple times, could have won the game. I put the Bengals still don't have any run game because Joe Mixon is still not touching the ball enough for me. I feel like they would be doing better. I've been asking for it every single week if you've been watching these videos, and he's just not getting the ball. I still think he's a talented running back. I know they have Burrow and the talented receivers, but run game sets up the pass, and I feel like it's a missing part of their scheme. They have a lot of losses that I think could have at least been helped with the run game. So I put the defense won the game. You hold the Seahawks to 13 points with all those good receivers, and I think people forget JSN, Jackson Smith Njigba, is their 4th receiver on their roster. So they have so much talent on the offense. Geno Smith was looking better last year, is kind of a slow start. And then Kenneth Walker. So a lot of talent over there. Defense played surprisingly well. So good look for the Bengals there. And then I put Burrow looks off still because there's just something about him. Like, obviously they get the win, but there's just something about him where it just doesn't look the same as like dominant Joe Burrow. And his receivers, T. Higgins is out, but like I don't get why. I think T. Higgins, yeah, he's out. something came up there, and it just, to me, it doesn't look right. Joe Burrow, I don't know what's wrong with him, but it's not looking like the Joe Burrow we know. I guess we kind of hope that, like every other year, he starts to come back around playoff time, later in the season. Don't know if the Bengals are going to make the playoffs, so especially with their record early, but Seahawks end up losing. I picked the Seahawks. Bengals get the dub, and we move on to the Colts Jaguars. So this one, they went down so early, so they weren't really able to run the ball, and they asked too much of Minshew. No capital on the M. That's all right. If you've seen these before, you see that I always find all my errors throughout the video with all my typing errors. So love that. But I thought I have the helmet next to my logo next to the Colts here. That was because I picked them against the spread. I thought it would have been a winnable game. Spread was 4.5, so plus 4.5 to them. I thought they could cover that or even win, so I put it on them. That was kind of like an upset that I was looking for. But Jaguars end up taking it. The defense just stole the show. Minshew, he needed to do too much, especially going down early. T-Law did well enough. Obviously comes out injured. We'll see what happens. I think he's still questionable for this next game, especially in a short week. But for some reason, there's some thought that he's going to play. I put the offense was very underwhelming, despite having 37 points. A lot of it was just the plays the defense made, and when it comes to everything situational, the defense just kind of stole the show. Alec Pierce had a nice one-hander for the Colts, and then same with Evan Ingram. So some cool catches if you watch that game. But yeah, Jaguars end up taking the dub 37-20. I got another pick wrong. Next one, we have the Dolphins-Panthers. Seemed like an easy pick. This was a super exciting game, though. The Panthers go up 14-0 early on, including there was a pick six. They played a really clean game. Offense just completely fell off. Didn't really do any scoring in the second half aside from that pick six. Other, I guess, positive plays, you have the Tommy Tremble had a sweet hurdle. That was fun to watch. But Tyreek Hill, Mostert went off. It ended kind of as expected, where the Dolphins just run away with it. We had a nice run from Raheem Mostert, and the offense is just very efficient. Obviously, aside from the interception, which was kind of just it was Mike White, so it's just a kind of a lame, like you don't really expect. He's not going to be coming in every game, so and they ran away with the game, 42-21. Dolphins take down the dub. I finally get a pick right here. And that one was pretty obvious of one of the best teams in the league against the worst team. Panthers do look good, though. They're keeping the fight up. Next, we had the 49ers and the Browns. I put Brock Purdy needs his weapons because I've been saying, it's kind of easy for Brock Purdy with he really just needs to get it to the weapons. But when you have Debo go down and Christian McCaffrey go down, it made it look very difficult for Brock Purdy, especially with all the pressure that the Browns was getting. So looked rough. I put the penalties both ways in this game because the refs, to me, it was bad. There's a very controversial call at the end where the 49ers very well could have won this game. And then Fred Warner had that pick. Elijah Moore on the Browns had a nice one-hander. Same with Amari Cooper. He had a good snag on the sideline, and then there was the bomb to him where he kind of made a couple nice moves. So Amari Cooper had a good game. CMC early on, he had his little shimmy and shake on a little shove, like a little, it was just a light forward pass, and then he took it to the house, and then he had a nice run as well. I put the Browns ran the ball very well, and I think that was a big key to their win. You'll see if you watch my picks videos, I put all of my picks, and then I put a couple of other stats, one of them being whichever team runs the ball better and how often they win, which you'd be surprised at the better run team, how often wins the game. But then I put P.J. Walker's not sustainable. He had a very bad game. Being a Bears fan in the Chicagoland area, all the posts were about, P.J. Walker just beat the 49ers and the Bears coaching staff decided to cut him. What does that say about them? And it's like, well, P.J. Walker had a horrible game, so let's start with that. He did not play well. They ran the ball well, and the defense played exceptionally well. I put it could have went either way, though, because, again, arguably the 49ers should have won that game. And the Browns end up getting the dub, though, 19-17. And 49ers are going to be that much more mad going into next week one to get a win back. So Then we have the Saints-Texans. I really thought the Saints could do it. I bet wrong there. I just put they couldn't find the end zone, and then to follow it up, 0-3 in the red zone. If you go 0-3 in the red zone, I doubt there's a team that's ever won if they were 0-3 in the red zone. Just doesn't seem good. The offense, so many yards too. The offense had a crazy amount of yards and was able to play well. They just couldn't find that end zone. So a lot of costly penalties too. I want to say they had 10 or 11 penalties, and it was for a lot of yards too. Stroud threw that pick early, throws it into quadruple coverage, which seemed very un-Stroud-like. I think we all expected an interception to happen at some point, especially being this far into the season, week 6. And him having his first interception is wild, but it was a really bad one. But he's a rookie quarterback, and I think we all remember that at the end of the day. The Texans played bend but don't break defense and played a clean game. As I mentioned for the Saints, they continuously were able to drive the ball down the field pretty much effortlessly, but just couldn't get in the end zone. And so that red zone defense led by DeMeco Ryans definitely showed out the Texans with another win, where we kind of said that we said earlier, Commanders are the worst 3-3 team. I think the Texans might be one of the best, which is definitely a surprise with how we expected. I don't think we expected them to be a top half team this year. A lot of places with them having the Cardinals' first pick, I think we kind of expected them to, the Cardinals having their pick. People thought the Cardinals were going to have pick 1 and 2, and instead that's the Bears. But Texans win 20-13, and keep winning those games. Patriots, Raiders. Raiders get the win. Wide receivers I have brick for hands with the Patriots. So many drops. I mean, Mac Jones didn't look like he looked good, but because of his receivers just not being able to catch the ball, aside from Kendrick Bourne, it really made him look bad. So if you look at the stats, you go, why are the Patriots still starting Mac Jones? But he really didn't play that bad. There was a lot of missed opportunities by his team. I said they missed Judon. They had no sacks and only 3 quarterback hits the whole game. So putting some pressure on whoever was quarterback would have been a lot better. Because Garoppolo comes out, we have Hoyer come in, and they ran the ball a lot more, which I had been asking for with a guy like Josh Jacobs, kind of a similar situation to the Bengals with Joe Mixon, where I just want to see them run the ball more. Josh Jacobs got like twice as many touches as he was usually getting on average. He got 25 for, I think he almost hit 100, and they did a lot better and they won the game. I put Devontae Adams has got to be mad though, because he only got like 3 or 4 receptions, and Jacoby Myers was just getting all the receptions that game. So a little too close for comfort though, I think, especially going up against the Patriots, who had lost back-to-back games by 30. Patriots definitely look like they're trying to get one back, because Bill Belichick has never really been much of a loser, and so far it's kind of looking like he's a loser. So I am planning on making a video on coaches that are on the hot seat. Bill Belichick is one of them. So like the video if you want to see that one, and subscribe for more. Hopefully I'll be getting that one out soon. But the Raiders take down the Patriots 21-17 and end up getting the dub there. And I got another pick wrong, because that's just a trend this week. Next game we have Lions-Buccaneers. Lions played a great game. You see Dan Campbell in the locker room after it. The defense just went off. Whenever we let up 6 points, boys, that's going to be a good game. That's just how Dan Campbell, he was hyped. Clean game from Goff, got a game ball. We saw that one too. I love Dan Campbell. But Goff gets the clean game, 350 yards. Losing Monty killed the run game though. Their run game was non-existent. Jahmyr Gibbs is out too, so you can't really blame him, but I think it does show how talented of a running back David Montgomery still is. Although he had pretty average numbers while he was in Chicago, I always loved watching Montgomery run, and he was great. Jameson Williams had a really nice catch in this game, and Josh Reynolds had one of the coolest blocks. Amon-Ra got a route across the middle, and then as he was cutting across, you see Josh Reynolds just fly across the screen, and he hits one Buccaneer into like 2 other Buccaneers, and then Amon-Ra's like holy shit, and just walks right into the end zone. So that was great. Buccaneers couldn't find the end zone. Bad on third down. They drove down the field a couple times just to end up in field goals. Wide receivers got locked up. Lions defense just played really well. Baker Mayfield couldn't do it as I expected. I don't expect much out of Baker Mayfield, especially with them 3-1 going into this game. So Lions end up getting the dub 20-6, and I got this one right. I thought this one was pretty easy, but at least got it right. We have Cardinals Rams. This is another easy one. I thought the Rams were going to murder them, and they did. This was the first game that Josh Dobbs looked really bad. Couple costly turnovers. Couldn't find the end zone. Couldn't stop the run. Kyron Williams with 158 rushing yards. Cooper Kupp had well over 100 and had a lot of nice receptions as well. Huge bomb, actually, to Cooper Kupp. I think that play went for like 60 or 70 yards. Wasn't a touchdown. Kyron Williams had like a 50-yard run, so a lot of big plays. As I said, Rams were forcing turnovers and just played a clean game on offense, and the defense kept shutting down the Cardinals and forcing turnovers. Rams end up with the W, 26-9. Next, we have this one, super close game, Eagles-Jets. Now, if you look at what I put in the recap here and the notes, you'd probably go, Jerry, did you even watch this game? I did watch the game. The reason I've gained respect for Jalen Hurts is because I always kind of thought, not in the same way as Brock Purdy, but I thought that Jalen Hurts was a little bit carried by all the talent around his team. They talk about quarterbacks to get a wide receiver in their third year and how much better they look. And, with A.J. Brown and Swift has looked really good this year, and Devonta Smith, and like all of these talents on the team, and their defense being one of the best in the league. Not maybe as much this year, but in past years, and then they have the best offensive line in the league. I always thought Hurts was kind of carried by that, but actually more detailed watching this game, I saw so many plays where he was just avoiding pressure so well and rolling out and knowing when to throw the ball and where to throw it to. Like, there were so many times where he was rolling out, he would run towards the sideline, and most quarterbacks would just end up throwing it away, and he would still try to target somebody. So I like that, aside from all the interceptions and the turnovers, which end up losing them the game. I just wanted to explain myself for why I put respect for Hurts. I put so many close games because they've been in a bunch of close games, and we've just kind of passed off this year that they've won because they're the Eagles and they're a great football team. But this is kind of where it caught up to where they finally lose one of those close football games. I also put defense sold, offense let up, which although you could look into or you could comment on what I said about Hurts and how, all the turnovers and stuff, but the defense kind of stepped back and so did the offense, and it looked like they weren't really playing to win the game, they were just playing not to lose, and in doing that, they end up with a loss. I put the Jets kind of bend but don't break because although they allowed a lot of yards, they were able to get the turnovers when it counted. They shut down the run game for the most part. Swift had a couple decent runs, but I think his biggest play was actually out of the backfield. He had a nice reception where he bounced off a couple guys and went into the end zone. But Garrett Wilson looked good. He had a great catch down the sideline. A.J. Brown had a couple great catches. And then Hurts threw that almost pick six. And that hurt him big time. And the Jets just end up clutching up and win it 20-14. Only the first crazy upset, or I guess it'd be the second crazy upset. This should have been the third. I put the Giants got robbed. The defense had the Bills number. The Bills only scoring 14 points against a Giants defense that's just been horrible this year. And the Giants only putting up 9 points. They should have at least been given another opportunity with the pass interference in the end zone. That it was pass interference. Like, you look at every angle after, and it absolutely was pass interference. That's why I put the Bills lost the game, because I guess you can't guarantee that Tyrod Taylor would have snuck it in or something would have happened, but you can assume that first and goal on the 1 with enough time left probably could have done it. And then I put Tyrod Taylor to Danny Dimes, greater than Danny Dimes, because he honestly, I hate saying this because the Giants scored 9 points. Are we really going to talk about? But it's just more the fact that they were put in a position to win this game. And I feel like for some reason Tyrod Taylor looked a little bit better under pressure than Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes seems to get frustrated, and probably because of how many times he's been hit and knocked to the ground. But I just liked what I saw from Tyrod Taylor a little bit more. Obviously, he's not as mobile as Daniel Jones, but I think you could argue too. I'm thinking about it as I'm talking about it, like, oh well, you don't think Daniel Jones could have put up 15 points if the Bills only scored 14? But I don't know. I don't think I would. I put the Bills lost the game. Let's move on. Played a very sloppy game as far as turnovers and just some bad play calling that I noticed and some bad throws from Josh Allen. So that's not going to help. And I also put they're very inconsistent because they seem like they're a team where they can absolutely dominate. Like when they played the Dolphins, who are looked at as one of the best teams in the league, they dominated. What was it, 48-20? But now they play the Giants, and they should have lost the game. Giants are one of the biggest dumpster fires in the league, and the Bills only win 14-9. So that didn't look great for them. Bills ended up getting the dub, and I was wrong about the spread. Big spread in that game. Last game we have Cowboys-Chargers. If you watch the prediction video, I almost guessed this one spot on. I guessed Cowboys 21, Chargers 17. So I literally almost hit the nail on the head. CeeDee Lamb had a big game. Tony Pollard had a big game in the receiving department. Those were really the only big receivers on their team as far as receptions and yards go. I put the Cowboys didn't get enough pressure. Obviously, have Micah Parsons get the pretty much game-clinching sack right at the end. Huge play by Parsons, who was pretty much a ghost throughout the whole game there. But Cowboys shut down the run game, weren't really able to do much there, forced them to pass the ball, and they did pass the ball a lot. I put these notes in. I was thinking about doing this video last night, but Monday night after the game, but I was just too tired. But I did put in the note that one of the announcers said Jordan Palmer, I think it was Joe Buck, he put Jordan Palmer looks like a vacuum cleaner out there, and that's because that's what he was. He was just catching everything thrown at him, and he was getting targeted a lot. He got targeted more than Keenan Allen. The defense stepped up, and it was a very close game again, as these games consistently are with the Chargers. You'd think they'd come out with more wins, and I feel like I talk about every week about all the talented players on their team and their ability to win games. And you could say, too, like the Cowboys have been a good football team this year, so the fact that it was this close against the Cowboys should be worth something, and I think it is, but just the fact that it seems like they could play against the Commanders and it would be a close game with a loss, but they could play against the 49ers and it could be a close game and a loss. It just seems like they don't know how to win the game. Brandon Staley might be on the hot seat, but we'll see. Cowboys end up taking the dub, barely clearing that 2.5 spread, too. Cowboys 20, Chargers 17. Here's the Week 6 leaders. I love putting these in here. These are fun for me because I love fun facts and stats and all sorts of stuff like that. So Gardner Minshew gets the completions and the passing attempts for the most this week. They were just slinging the ball because of how they were down early, so they kind of had to. Jared Goff gets the yards with 353, as I said earlier, 350-plus yards. Tua had a great completion percentage and his passer rating there. Josh Jacobs finally gets 25 carries. And like I said, didn't do a whole lot with it, but I do think it helped them win the game. Kyren Williams with 158 rushing yards. He just went off towards the end there. Just kept handing him the ball. Unfortunately, he's out, so we'll see what happens next week. Amon-Ra had the most receptions. Tyreek Hill with 163 yards on 2 huge plays. That's where a big chunk of that came from. I believe like 110 or 120 yards came from those 2 plays. Big chunk plays he got. I put there was a bunch of people that got 15 tackles and led, and then Hassan Reddick on the Eagles got 2.5 sacks and 2 TFLs. The Saints had the most offensive yards, which was wild to me. There was only 430. There was a week where the Dolphins were in the 700s. And then I think the lowest that week was like 100 something. It was the Browns Bengals. But then this week we only have 430, and then Falcons held the Buccaneers to 100 the Buccaneers. The Falcons played a team and they held them to 193 yards. End up losing the game anyway. Jets get 4 takeaways. And then the fun facts. Bears haven't won a home game in 387 days. I also saw somebody say that they haven't beat a divisional team in like 1,700 days. And then it was like even more since they beat the Packers. So very bad for the Bears. It's just a mess. First time in NFL history, the Jets beat the Eagles. So that was exciting to see. Exciting game. Close one. Eagles kind of sold it there. I put the NFL refs stink. Not that that's a fun fact. I'm sure everybody knows that, but they're continuously ruining games. And what I don't like is last year they seemed to be getting a lot of hate, and it was very notable on social media. And it seemed like it made it into the algorithm where it would get out and people would constantly see how much these refs are changing the game. And in my opinion, it's still happening, but it's not getting like broadcasted as much, which I don't think is good for the game. I think we need to get back on that and get back on holding these refs accountable, because they're changing the course of the game. Like I said, with a couple one-score games, you have the Bears game where they recover a fumble, which to me looked like clearly inbounds, but for some reason they call it out of bounds and the Vikings get the ball back. You have the two game, like towards the end of the game, you have the 49ers missing out on pass interference calls and lose the game mostly because of it. And then the Giants really lose the game because of it against the Bills. And I put Tyreek Hill is on pace for 1,628 yards by week 12. I saw the stat. He is actually on pace for 2,300 yards this season, which is unbelievable. So knock on wood for no injuries there. But hopefully he can stick with that and be the first receiver to hit 2,000, because he is absolutely killing it. And then the Browns have given up 1,002 yards in 5 games, and that is the lowest amount of yards allowed through 5 games in 50 years, which is nuts. So I had to throw that one in there. That's your Week 6 recap. Your Week 6 leaders are all there. And thank you for watching. I have a Power Rankings video coming out soon, as well as my picks video will be very soon. You made it back to the thumbnail. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.